episode guest is Jemima Galan, and I'm gonna let her kind of introduce herself and tell us a little bit about her, so that we could talk about our topic for today, which is gonna be career mom. And pretty much what we want is to be a direct outreach today for all the career moms out there. So Jemima, you have the stage.
Hi. So yeah, Jemima Galan, or in a bitter family argument, it's Galan. There's a, a variety of interpretations amongst the family, but I am a Hispanic woman, a single parent, a career mom. I'm a lawyer and full-time professor. So I work both as an attorney, as a partner at a law firm, and I simultaneously work at the University of Laverne College of Law. So I teach law school and law school courses to students who are planning on becoming lawyers in the near future. Other than that, like I said, I'm a Hispanic woman. I'm an immigrant myself. I am a strong personality sometimes, often, but I am a single parent. I have one child, a 7-year-old little ginger boy who I adore and who drives me crazy simultaneously. And like you said, today we're going to talk about career momming.
So with that said, I want you to kind of tell us a little bit more about the challenges you had as being a career mom. You know, you mentioned that you're a single mom and that you work, and I want to know if you could share with us like how it's been for you being a single mom.
So, I've been working ever since my son was, well, practically since my son was born. I think I took a week off when I had him. And I think I was a full-time student at the University of California, Irvine. I was full-time working as a veterinary receptionist, and I was 40 weeks pregnant and I was still working. So
Wow.
I think that one of the things I struggle in my life with is this tendency to overwork, this sort of addiction to your own, career, to your own job, whatever it is. I'm one of those just like notorious people who works too much, probably to my own detriment. But I'm just one of those people who does that. That's just how I operate. I was raised that way, sort of with this idea of like the Hispanic work ethic where you have to work and work and work and work. And that's just something that's never, left the core of who I am. But I've been working ever since my son was pretty much born. I've been a single parent ever since my son was pretty much born. I know I separated from his father when my son was about a week old. So at a week old, we packed up and moved out and, sort of began this journey on, for our own lives. And as part of that journey come the struggles, of being a single parent and being a single parent who's a student, and then being a single parent who's a student and also working, and being a single parent who's a student and also working and not sleeping and trying to get into law school. And then, all the paths that I've taken ever since he was born. He's 7 now, so there's a lot of steps along the way that have gotten me there. But there's a lot in terms of struggles. And I don't say that as like a negative thing. I don't like to sort of say struggles and then sort of take that role of victimization. I'm a very proud woman. Like I'm very prideful, and probably not in a good way either. I'm very prideful and I'm very, stubborn. And so I when I say struggles, I mean like obstacles to overcome. And that's how I really try to see them. I see them as stepping stones. I see them as, this is just right now until I get over it. But, it's been 7 years of single parenting and working and going to law school and, studying for the California bar exam, which is very, very difficult exam. Passing the California bar exam and then finding employment and then all of these different areas that go along that way. But, if I had to break it down into like categories, I'd probably say that the biggest struggles that you deal with are one, the just the physical responsibilities of having to be in so many places at once. Two, I think the mental and emotional responsibilities of having to be in so many places at once. And then three, I would say the image that's projected on you by others. That's one I think I have strong opinions about as well. What others perceive of you, even nowadays in the, the 21st century that we're in the current, state of California, Southern California vibe, you still get a lot of projections from other people of what your life is and what your life is supposed to be. So I don't know, there's a lot to unpack there. So
No, but I'm glad that all the topics you're bringing up of the struggles and challenges you've had, I feel like each one of those things that you pointed out is a vital part of your journey. It's not easy being a single mom, and you took on a challenge that not only were you a single mom or are you a single mom, but you decided that you wanted to challenge yourself and you wanted to succeed in your career. You wanted to do the things that you still wanted to do, and you went for them. Like, it's not easy to pass the California bar exam, which I applaud you, and I really, like, I'm proud of you, and you're my hero. Because I know how hard it is to, like, be a full-time mom. Like, my mom was a full-time mom and a full-time career mom. And she did have some struggles as well. Like, I'm not a mom myself yet, and I hope one day I can be. But like, I admire every single mom and every single parent out there who, besides of the obstacles they have to overcome, like, they face everything head on and they just go at it. And I know that it must have been so difficult for you, you know, um, being a single mom, going to school. Like, what was the biggest challenge for you um, when you were pregnant and you were working and you had your baby and you still were in the workplace? What has been the biggest challenge for you in the workplace?
So it's interesting because, in the, obviously I'm not going to name names, but in the place that I was working at when I was, very pregnant, it was very frowned upon. This was a type of employer who tended to hire, mid 20s, young women who are all pretty much on the same sort of physical landscape. You all are a certain body type, certain age, certain, sort of attraction. So it was kind of like you get hired to look good in the front, to just kind of sit there and look nice sitting in the front area of this business. But the sort of perspective changes a lot when all of a sudden it's, yeah, but I'm not going to look that same way. I'm 40 weeks pregnant and now in the front. And so I definitely felt a lot of, I don't know how to quite describe it. I think a lot of pressure when I was pregnant and in this sort of employment, and it was like I didn't fit there. And I kind of felt that going forward for quite a while. I kind of had that feeling of I shouldn't be here. And it comes in different perspectives, obviously. In my first employment, it's because I'm pregnant and I don't fit this sort of box of what I'm supposed to look like to sit here and look pretty. And in the employments after I had my child, it's always different things like I shouldn't be here because I should be at home. I should be at home with my child. I come from a very traditional family of, parents who stayed together amidst problems, even so. Parents who stayed together and who raised their children, and mom stayed home and mom cooked and mom took us to school. And those were all great and wonderful things, obviously, but it was a very traditional role. Dad went and earned the paychecks and brought back home the paychecks and didn't really do much of the parenting.
Brought home the bacon.
Exactly. And my mom often says it, my mom often says it because my parents were very helpful when I had my son, obviously. But my mom always says that my dad did more for my son than he did for any of his 6 children, in the sense of, he picked him up, he fed him, he actually gave him a bottle once, and my mom was like, he didn't do that for any of his own 6 children.
But you know,
I,
they say it's different when it's a grandchild, you
yeah, no,
know,
I'm not
and
negative about it.
yeah, and I'm like, no, there's nothing negative about it. I think it's beautiful, you know, like I think as when first time parents, you know, no matter if you have 6 to 8 kids, you're still a first time parent. You were never a parent until you decided to be a parent, you know, and each child is different. You know, I talk by experience because me and my brother are completely different. Me and my sisters are completely different. Me and my older brother, like every child is different. And I understand that when you say like in the Latino community or in a lot of households, regardless of your ethnicity, it's always the man's role to bring home the bacon, get that lettuce. And it's the mom's job, the woman's job to stay at home, be a housewife, take care of the kids, make sure the home is good and everything like that, you know? But we live in a society now where even if we wanted to, it's not really possible with everything that's going on, you know, like it's very hard, especially if you live in California. It's very
California
hard.
it's definitely a dual income family
Mhm.
unit. But having a child, and I was in my mid-20s when I had my son, and having a child and up and leaving their father and moving out and trying to find your own space and saying, I think I'm going to go to law school next year. And I have these very traditional sort of Christian based household that's looking at me like, what is wrong with you? You need to go back. And this is something my dad constantly told everybody. And I was, I'm okay talking about it now. He's passed. So I don't feel like, oh my God, he's going to yell at me for this now. But he would constantly tell me, are you sure you don't just want to go back to your ex? And that was like the sort of, constant nudge that I would get from my father, because in his more traditional sort of frame of mind, it was always, you're not doing something right, or you're doing something wrong by being a single parent. Like, what sort of life are you going to provide for your child? And I knew I was going to be a single parent when I was pregnant. I knew it. And I knew that was coming. And I had my son, and I gave him my last name because I knew I was going to be a single parent. I knew that was days away from me. And so kind of with that in mind, I decided, obviously, I want to be able to kind of have an easier, time signing documents and paperwork, and not worrying about different last names. So I gave my son my last name, and my dad, bless his heart, he was the funniest guy and could be the sweetest guy, but sometimes he was also a difficult man. Mm-hmm. And sometimes he said things, he didn't really mean them, but he said them. And then regretted it afterwards. And one of the things that I got was like, well, why does he have your last name? He should have his father's last name. And, a lot of sort of pressure. I always felt a lot of pressure when I was, determined to have my child on my own, pressure when I was, recently separated and trying to figure out the next steps of my life, pressure when I was, when I decided I had back to work. After I had my son, because I couldn't afford not to. Pressure when I decided to go to law school. Pressure when I decided to take the bar exam, and so on and so forth. So there was a lot of steps along the way, and part of that was a lot of pressure, a lot of this sort of emotional toll that things take.
Yeah, and I understand. Like you said, you like your dad, he always loved you. He always had the best intention, and because of that traditional mindset, he would say things that were just like, "Dad, I know what I'm doing." And sometimes
Yeah.
our parents don't understand why we make the decisions we make, but they always have the best of intentions to want us to guide us to do the best thing for us. But okay, so one of those things that you also pointed out in parenting, that was a challenge. In what way do you feel that being a single mom has been a challenge for you in parenting with your son?
I think timing is really important to mention. Having to balance time and having to balance like that insufferable nonstop mommy guilt, having to balance the sort of emotional toll of pursuing what you want versus maybe doing something with your child, or because every time you do something for yourself, at least in your mommy mindset, you're pulling time away from your child. If I go to law school and I have to attend law school for 40 hours a week, then that's 40 hours a week where I'm not taking care of my child. And that's supposed to be my job because I'm the mom. So I think that's one of the biggest issues. And I think everybody can relate to that sort of mommy guilt mentality in degree, at least.
That I agree with you. Like, I know my mom, she, like, as she was like going through her struggles as being a single parent after my parents separated during that period of time, she did have that mommy guilt. She would tell us, like, I know I'm working a lot. I'm so sorry. Like, she would apologize for having to go to work and leave us at home. So it is hard. It is difficult. How do you feel that this has affected you? Like, the challenges you had with your mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional toll it took on you?
So on me personally, because I know it's also had an effect on my son, but on me personally, I feel like it's drained me to a certain degree. And like I said, I'm really stubborn. I'm the type of person who refuses to ask for help. And that is not a good quality. It's a toxic trait. It's awful. But I actively refuse to ask for help. And I have a serious, serious problem because even when I know I need it, I'm not going to ask for it. And it's something I'm working on, but it is something that I constantly struggle with. So it causes such a mental sort of drag on who I am. Like, there are days where it's just like, how do I get through the day? The second I wake up, that's my first thought. Like, how am I going to make it through today? Monday, the 1st of March. How do I get through this day? How do I make it to 10 o'clock at night? And, and so on and so forth. It's the process of, I just have to focus on, I can make it through the next 15 minutes. And that's been my strategy especially during COVID times, it's been my strategy for the last year. I can make it the next 15 minutes. I can make it the next 15 minutes. And then 15 minutes pass and, okay, I made it 15 minutes. I can make it 15 more minutes. And I'm kind of like almost teasing myself into convincing myself that everything is going to be fine on the days that I
You're
don't.
like that meme where you're sitting in a room, everything's on fire. Like, this is fine.
It's fine. It's all fine. This is fine. Yeah, that's it's a really good meme for me.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like what you just said, a lot of women, being single moms or not, can relate to that. When there's so many challenges in our lives, it does take a toll on our mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional state of mind and being. And you sharing with us all the challenges, all the pressure, like, what was your accomplishment when you feel that when this is happening? What do you do other than the 15 minutes that has helped you to kind of realize, you know what, I'm okay? Or what are the breaking points when you realize you need to ask for help even if you don't want to?
So I think one of them has been seeing my son go through this process with me, because like I said, I'm a single parent. I live alone with my son, and so and especially now that we're both home, I work from home, he's doing school from home. We don't leave the house. If we do, we leave the house together. It's always like, it's me and him all the time. And so that's been hard. And I'm sure every mom can relate to the COVID parenting. It's awful. It's hard. Home teaching, distance learning, it's the worst thing in my life. But it's also been very helpful. It's been really sort of
In what way do you feel it's been very helpful for you?
Because it forces me to have to do better. It forces me to kind of stay grounded, because I don't have those moments where I'm alone and where I don't have somebody relying on me. And so for the most part, I don't have the time to fall apart or to have a bad day or to have an off day. All I have is, everything I can put out to get what I need to get done and to provide that sort of motivation for my son. And my son is super receptive to that sort of, environmental, like he senses things when things are wrong, and he'll come up to me and he'll say, Mom, you're doing a good job. And he's always got these sort of kind words. And don't get me wrong, the kid, he can drive me absolutely crazy sometimes, absolutely. But I don't want to just frame it as my child is perfect, because nobody's child is ever perfect. Nobody's perfect. And I don't want to get that
he comes close. He comes very close.
He has these days where he's like, today was a hard day, and we're just gonna have to do some stuff and work on it, or let's just have a movie night, or let's just do this, or how about we'll make a deal. That's his favorite phrase in the world. Let's make a deal. And his deals are sometimes not good deals, but sometimes he'll say things that's like, let's make a deal tomorrow. We'll both try to do better. We'll both try to be better.
I feel like that is one of the accomplishments you can be proud of as a parent, for your child to have that mindset of like, okay, Mom, I'm being difficult. Let's make a deal. Like, tomorrow I'll do better. He's at an age where I'm really like shocked that he is responsible enough to say, I will do better.
Yeah.
You're doing something right.
Well, we all have our moments, and sometimes it's after a really difficult night or a really difficult day of the deadlines piling up and the work piling up and the homeschooling piling up, and I can't yell one more time, please go do your math homework. If I have to say it one more time, I swear I am gonna just I'm gonna explode. Of course I have my moments. But, I've had days also where even after difficult nights, I've put my son to bed, and he has come out of his room, which obviously immediately annoys me because I put you to bed already. But he's come out of his room to apologize and to say, we're going to try again tomorrow. And that's always such a great thing. It's a great feeling.
I feel like that's an amazing accomplishment in parenting, that you were able to instill that characteristic in your son. That humbleness, that love, that understanding, that acceptance of like, okay, I need to apologize. A lot of time kids do not have that because they're not taught to humble themselves whenever they do wrong. So I'm proud of your son, and I'm proud of you because you have that relationship where you guys can talk and you guys can come to an understanding, even though if sometimes it's not the best deal being offered. But it's a beautiful thing to hear, because I feel like there's a lot of homes where they don't have that. A lot of times there's parents that it's my way or the highway. And it's like they put an obstacle of understanding between them and their children, and for you to be able to have your son come to you, even though sometimes it's like, I just put you to bed. It's beautiful to hear that he has that trait. It means you're doing something right. You're raising him to be a gentleman, not just to his mom, but towards women. If he's willing to apologize to his mother, he's willing to apologize to any woman he decides to ever have a relationship with.
Absolutely. And I'm huge on that. I'm huge on, and I think I posted something on Instagram a few days ago, like, I am huge on the idea that I'm raising someone who other women will be safe with someday,
Yes.
Raising the kind of person who, of course we all have faults. Nobody will be perfect, but despite all of that, the kind of person who I can genuinely say, as an adult, nobody is going to have to stand next to him and be scared. We don't hit each other. We don't, obviously sometimes, when he was younger and he has his moments and lashes out, but those are teaching moments where they learn you shouldn't lift your hand up to anybody unless you're trying to protect yourself. You shouldn't, have those sorts of interactions with people. That shouldn't be where you go with your emotions. You should learn to recognize what your emotions are and ways to process them that are healthy, that are not going to harm us. They're not going to harm you either.
Yeah, that is very true. You know, like, and I'm proud of you for doing that, because there's a lot of moms out there that they have a very hard time understanding the role they have as a mom to a son. And I'm never criticizing or judging moms. You know, it is very hard, especially when it's just you and your son, you know, but that's a very wonderful accomplishment you have. And I'm proud of you. Like, I applaud you, because it is a challenge. You know, if it was a daughter, it's like I feel you can relate a little bit more, because you're a woman, you're a girl, you went through it, you know what it is to be a girl. But the fact that you have a son, like, you're not a man, you're not a boy, you don't know what boys go through specifically. Like, you have your brothers.
Yeah,
Um,
I call them
yeah.
sometimes, like, with the questions about the downstairs and stuff. Like, I have had my fair share of phone calls where I'm like, what does this mean?
But you know, like, I feel like you are doing an amazing job, because even like I said, you're a single mom. You're a single mom to a boy, and for you to have these milestones with him, for him to be who he is and how he is, perfect and imperfect, you're on the right track. You know, I think many women who are tuning in can say, like, you know what, you are on a good track. You're doing the best you can with what you have, and you are doing good. You know, I don't know if you get told this enough, but you are an amazing mom. You're doing an amazing job, and society thanks you. Because I feel like a lot of it comes from home. It all starts at home, you know. And I'm just so happy that you are doing what you're doing with your son, because it's a good. It like I feel like what you're doing is a perfect tool to help other women. You know, and it's not easy, but you're doing
No.
it. You know, and I'm really happy for you that you're doing that. One of the other things that you mentioned was earlier, like your career in your workplace, of how much of a challenge it was. Like, what is an accomplishment you have now compared to how you felt back then in the workplace?
So I think balance has become something that I've gotten better at. And it's an ongoing process, but balance has been something I've gotten better at. You know, as a career parent, as a career mom, a parent, and somebody who has an active career, you know, I feel like we're often trying to overcompensate for the fact that we're women, for the fact that we're parents. We're almost trying to excuse the facts that we're parents. Like, and maybe I'm wrong, but this is just the impression that I get, is that sometimes as women, as moms, we want to do things like above and beyond what our requirements or calls to duty are, because we feel like we need to prove that we can do everything and still have a child and raise a child at home. And that is such a difficult thing to overcome. I mean, it's so hard. You get this so often. You get this idea that you have to do everything. You have to parent correctly. You have to attend all the PTA meetings. You have to go to all the sporting events and sign them up for all the extracurricular activities and be the PTA mom and do the bake sale and go to work and do extra projects and do extra shifts and do extra this and extra that and be the perfect person and present yourself perfectly at work and never miss a day, even if your child is sick, because you want to sort of retain this idea that you are superwoman. And the
Mm-hmm.
reality is that none of us are superwoman. None of us are superwoman. You know, we are warriors in the sense that we are doing more and doing good things and doing things that will help and benefit society from smallest to the biggest level. But we're not superhuman people. You know, we all
Mm-hmm.
have our physical and mental and emotional limitations, and that
Right.
balance I've worked
Yeah,
on.
right now that you're saying that, I'm remembering that meme we were talking about when people ask you, "Are you okay? You're doing great though." And you're like, "No, I need help. I need help."
Yeah,
It's a
like,
beautiful meme. Funny, but it's hilarious at the same time, because it's true. Like you just said, like, you can't do it alone. It's very hard, but you are doing it, and you have people in your life that are helping you, you know?
yeah.
So I'm just like really happy that you have a good head on your shoulders and you're doing that, you know? Um, with that said, like, as a woman in your womanhood, what is an accomplishment that you're proud of in your womanhood? Like I feel like I think I told you earlier, I feel like motherhood and womanhood are two separate things, and I don't like to combine them because I feel like your womanhood is something you live before you become a parent, and that doesn't go away. You have another trait now, which is motherhood. So what do you feel is the biggest accomplishment you've had within your womanhood?
So I think it's just making it through, honestly. Just getting to the next level, getting to the next step when I want to get to that next step. So my biggest accomplishment is accomplishing what I want to accomplish. And that's a little redundant, but I work with students, sometimes with law students who are grad students. These are adult women who've gone through their education and their undergraduate and are now trying to become lawyers or attorneys or whatever it might be. And sometimes I work with students who have difficult situations. And part of my job is to sort of guide them in the right direction. And I love doing that when it comes to this younger set of women who maybe don't have somebody with a strong female voice to tell them this is what you should consider, or do you really want this, or what do you want out of your life? And those conversations are so important to me, and they're not always perfect, and sometimes they're messy and they don't go the way I want them to, but the fact that I can be in a position where I can tell someone else who is a single mom, who is, we're going part-time to law school or going full-time to law school and trying to accomplish this goal that they have to become a lawyer in California, the fact that I can have these conversations with them and telling them, you can do this.
Mhm.
I did it. You can do this. There's nothing special
And you're
about
and you're speaking from experience. You're not speaking just to say. And that's what I love about you, because your encouragement comes from experience, not out of like what are you doing? Just do it, Like
yeah.
you come from a place with it's like, look, I know the struggle, I know how hard it is, but you can do it. I did it, you can do it. Let's do this.
I'm a big proponent of pointing out, like, not to, self, criticize myself, but there's nothing special about me that isn't special about you. Like, if I can do this, you can do this. It's not because I'm more intelligent or more organized or have more, financial means or whatever it might be. I don't, by the way. I did it when I was in law school. These things can be done with
Mhm.
planning and grit and support,
Yes.
and you have to have all three things. You have to plan for what you want your goals to be. You have to plan how you're going to get to the steps to reach those goals. You need to have the sort of grit to push you forward, and you need to have the support of the community there to sort of ensure that you're not giving up on yourself. And all three things are crucially important, and none of them are having rich parents or having rich, a lot of money in the bank. That doesn't get you to pass
Yeah.
the bar exam if you want to be a lawyer. You're not going to pass
Mhm.
because you have more money. I walked out of the
Mhm.
bar exam with $20 in my bank account. I was
Oh.
broke. I paid 2 days of parking for that exam, $20 or $25 each day. And I was like, I got enough to get me through the next 2 days. I got to just pay for the parking. That's all I got to
So
do.
pretty much you were moving bravely within your faith in yourself, and that everything would just work out itself. Like these are things that were beyond your control, but you knew the only thing that was in your control was taking that test and passing it.
Yep.
I'm so proud of you. I really am. Like it is hard. It is a challenge, like I myself being just like a person, a woman without having to go through parentinghood or motherhood. Like I have my challenges, and I cannot imagine going through them and having a child. I would be like, ah, what do I do? And I'm sure
But
like
you would do it if you had to.
if I had to, I know I would,
You would do it.
because I'm
You
a
would do
bad.
it. Yeah.
No, and it's like mama didn't raise no. Yeah, like you do have to. overcome so much, and to have that mindset is very crucial. Like, I feel that's one thing that I would love the audience to like pay attention to. It's the mindset, you know, everything that you went through, everything you overcame, every challenge, every obstacle, every accomplishment, it was all due to your mindset, you know. And not always, I'm pretty sure there were not, you didn't have always the best mindset sometimes,
No.
but you were able to get through it. You know, you mentioned having support, having the right people around you. What do you feel, who, like, let's give credit to those people for a little bit. Like, who are the people that you feel took the time to actually step up and help you, and pretty much be there with words of encouragement when you really needed it? And sometimes they came to you in moments that you never expected anyone to come and give you these words of advice.
So I think that obviously my mom and my dad were a tremendous support when it came to the physical things, like the helping take care of my son while I was at school or while I was taking my exam. And similarly, you guys all talked to Liz a couple weeks ago. That's my sister-in-law, full disclosure. Love her. Um, and
We both love her. Everyone loves Liz.
She's a tremendous person in my life, obviously, and a amazing woman to spend time with and be around and to have as family. And I'm always telling her, you're not my sister-in-law, you're my sister. I've known you for so long, and with the type of relationship we have, like, she's just my sister at this point. And part of that includes her always being there with these great sort of motivations to keep me going. And for a long time there was always that like background idea of, oh my gosh, is she just trying to get me to go to church again? Because I don't want to go to her church. I didn't like those people who said hi to me at the door. Those women were not nice to me.
No.
They would always look at me. They would always look at me and shake my hand and be like, "Hermanita," and then they would grab my hand, and I'm holding my baby, and they would like turn it to see if I had a wedding ring on.
What?
Oh, no estás casada. You're not married.
Yeah, no, that was not cool.
Not cool. But
ladies, if you're tuning in and you did that, don't do it again.
But Liz has always been a great encouragement, and her and Lucas, obviously, when I was studying for the bar exam, I was studying 12 hours a day sometimes, and it was 7 days a week, and it was 10 weeks, and it was nonstop. And they stepped up. They helped me watch my son. They helped take care of him when I was studying and getting things done. And obviously, I had a good amount of community support from some of the law students who I went to law school with, who understood, the difficulties of being in law school and studying for the bar exam. And then on top of that, couldn't fathom the difficulties of also having a child in there in the middle of it who wants attention and wants, to do things and doesn't want me to sit in front of a computer for 12 hours a day. Mm-hmm. So definitely some of these family relationships that I had were incredibly helpful. And obviously some of the relationships that I made in law school were incredibly helpful to kind of keeping my head in the game, which is what it was about at that point in my life, keeping my head in the game.
Mm-hmm. What do you feel like was the one thing that you have on the top of the head, the most memorable words of advice that any of the people that helped you gave you when you were having the hardest time?
So I think that, and I'm not sure who started saying this to me, but it was really effective. And I think that it was something along the lines of, you have to do it because you have to do it, because there's no other option here. There's no option. There's no room to not succeed. Mm-hmm. And I'm always very open about like the situations I struggled with in law school. It was a really pivotal part of my life, a moment in my life. I was so unsure that I was going to pass that exam. And I knew that if I did not pass it the first time, I couldn't afford to take it a second time. So that was a huge thing for me, because there was literally no way I could finance a second exam. Those exams are expensive and I could not afford it. And so some of my law school students who were students alongside me had said to me, well, you don't have another option. There's no backup plan. There's no backup plan. So you just have to do it. You just have to do
Yeah.
it. You just have
And
to
I
do it.
love how you
You
said
great
that. Like, I feel like that's the reality in a lot of cases, for women. Like, when you realize the reality of like, look, you really want this, but you don't have the financial means to try again. You have to commit. You have to focus. You have to give it your all, because you know if you fail, it's not like, oh, you're never going to have the opportunity to try again. It's just like you won't have this opportunity come again anytime soon.
No.
And not only will it devastate you if you don't pass, but you, like me personally, if I don't succeed the first time, I am like, I cannot believe myself. How could I fail?
I get
And I
so
feel like,
self-deprecating.
yeah, and I feel like this happens to mostly all of us, or maybe all of us, where we get very angry within ourselves. Like, how could I do this? How could I fail? Like, I've had moments where things didn't go accordingly, and it was my fault. And it was just like, man, I effed up. I completely F bomb here, F bomb there, because, like I just wasn't as focused. And this is like my younger years. And then when you say like that mentality of like, there's no choice, there's no other option, that's when I realized like I had that triggering moment in my head where it's like, I do not have an option. Failure is not an option. Self sabotage is no longer an option, and I feel like if we all have that mentality and we all realize, you know what? We do not have the liberty to waste our times anymore. We are not at liberty to have that mentality of when we're little, like, it's okay, tomorrow's a new day. Because sometimes it's like, yes, tomorrow's a new day, but that doesn't mean that the opportunities you were gonna have are gonna come because you didn't do what you had to do today. A
Yeah,
lot of
exactly.
the times we are the barriers and the obstacles to our own blessings, to our own futures. And I love the fact that you say that that was the thing that helped you, because it's a very powerful tool to remember. It's a powerful quote. There is no option. There's no room for failure. And if there is, yes, it's not, I'm not saying that, oh, if you failed, that's it, you failed. No, there's always that opportunity to try again. But what I'm saying is like, because we are limited and opportunities come, sometimes opportunities come only once in a lifetime. It doesn't mean that you just gave up. It just means that that's just how life is. And I'm so proud of you and I'm happy for you. Like, how did you feel when you realized you had passed?
Kind of surreal. It kind of felt like, are you sure?
Are you
I'm gonna be honest, I am terrible, terrible at like sort of celebrating my own successes. I'm
Oh, I
so
can
bad at
relate.
it. I am so bad at it. Like there are students, I knew people who in my law school class who were like going out and planning trips and having parties when they graduated, and I'm over here like okay, but I wasn't first in the class. I was third in the class. Like
Oh my God, you were third. You're complaining.
and I felt so bad about it at the time. I like
Oh.
legitimately like I was
And
like,
I relate because I'm a person like, especially after you putting all that sacrifice, all that time, and to come in third place is like, but I wanted to be number one.
and it
And but
because
it
the
shows to your character, like you were working, your mindset wasn't for the just to pass. Your mindset was just like, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna pass, but I'm gonna be the best. If I'm doing all this, I'm gonna be the best. Is that self-competitiveness that we carry within ourselves? I think everyone has it. So it's like like so when you saw that you were in third place, what was your reaction to that? Like,
I felt bad. I felt like I missed an opportunity to be first or second place. And it's not a great
oh,
and it's not, I'm gonna be honest, I'm totally embarrassed that I felt that way at the time, because to me it seems so ridiculous now, but in those years it was like my whole life was, it was parenting and law school, and those were my 2 points in life. That was all that was happening in my life. I would go to law school and I would study and then I would parent my child, and that's it. That's all I had going for me. And so to see that like I had put in all this time into law school and I wasn't number one was like, eating at me. But
Oh.
it's funny because the person who was first in our class, and I'm never going to forget this, gave a speech on our graduation day saying that for her it was like, it's not even an accomplishment because she didn't have the responsibilities of some of the other people in my class who had children. And so she did a shout out to all of us. There was a couple of us who had kids and were in law school, and she did a shout out to all of us. And at the time it like didn't really hit me, but like a year or two after, I was like, she is so awesome. Like, I can't believe she did that.
She gave the recognition, and I admire that from her. I really admire that because, the fact that she was humble enough to say, like, I feel like this isn't an accomplishment. This is something I was able to do because I didn't have any other obstacle. It was like if I did have it, maybe I would have been third place, But
And
the
don't get me
fact that
wrong,
you
she was amazing. She was amazing, a great student, fantastic. I don't want to like diminish what she accomplished. She did really well, obviously. But yeah,
Mhm.
I just wanted to point that out.
No, and that's what I'm saying. Like she did an amazing job. She passed. She deserves it because she worked hard as well. But I'm really proud of her for being that type of woman that's just like, I'm not the only one who did this. And there was women that were going through it with me who had an even harder obstacle to get to where they are. I applaud every single woman that always shouts out and lifts up other women because we live in a society where a lot of the times women are too like their ego of only I can win. I am the
Yeah,
best. That
run
it
into them.
ruins friendships, it ruins families, it ruins opportunities to just have unity and lift women. We live like I feel like we live in a society where um women have a hard time walking together because we grew up with competitiveness, and I feel like we've witnessed, like, I don't know, out of experience, I've witnessed it throughout elementary, middle school, high school, the workplace, our careers, even in motherhood. I've seen moms compete of, I'm a better mom. Don't talk to my kid that way because you don't know. And it's
It's
like,
awful.
don't do that. Like, let's have a moment. Let's get together and be like, you know what? I feel we can all get together and have our opinions to help each other. Because if somebody tells you something, it's more of a encouragement, like a reminder, like you're doing great. But you can do better. Regardless of the
Yeah,
topic or the issue. And when there's women that just straight up just say, you know what? It's not just me. Hold the hands of these other women. Let's raise them up because these women did it too. And they did it with other obstacles. Like I feel not just me should be up here, but these ladies too. And she did it so subtle and she did it very humbly and like humbly with like
yes.
a humble heart. And she acknowledged it,
Sincere. It was
you
so
know.
sincere, and it was just that moment of like wow, like that takes a kind of person to do that.
Yeah. It does. It really does because I know a lot of women and I love them dearly, but I know they have that competitiveness in them. And like I tell them, like we were talking earlier, like self-sabotage or anything that causes us to not focus is no longer an option. There's no option here. And women tend to get competitive with that because they don't. I think they do it in the sense that they don't realize that they're doing it.
I
I
have a
think
theory.
you have a theory.
I have a theory.
Oh, I love theories.
I think and I'm not saying that this applies to everybody, but I think that a lot of women do it, especially in the workplace and especially with the mom shaming.
Mhm.
I think they do it because of the mommy guilt and the sort of
Mhm.
imposter syndrome that they might hold against themselves.
Mhm. Yeah,
Because I've been part of that. I've been guilty of it at some point or another. Nobody's perfect. I'm not going to claim I'm perfect. I'm not. But like I've been a sort of not necessarily giving out that sort of vibe, but I've had thoughts like that where I have to compete in order to be the best because I am a female, so I have to be the best. And if I'm not the best, then I'm not doing, and it all kind of ties together. I'm not doing it right because I'm not the best. I'm not number one, I'm number three. And if I'm not number one, that means I failed at something to some degree. And that means that why am I even here? Why am I even doing this if I'm not doing it at the level where I can be number one? Why did I spend all that time working on law school if, you know, and not being with my child who I'm practically, you know, in my mind, practically neglected for 3 years to go to law school, which is so untrue, but in my mind, that's how I see it.
I feel like we tend to, as women, we tend to put ourselves down sometimes. Like I am guilty of that, you know, and I tend to tell myself, like, if I did not accomplish it to the fullest potential, I get angry with myself. I put myself down, like, oh, you're so, like, how could you not? Like, come on, get it together, Nora. But it's like we forget, like, for that glimpse, that period of time, we forget, like, you did it, you accomplished it, regardless if it wasn't at the level you wanted it to be done, you did it. You know, and I feel women need to constantly remind themselves, it's like, you did it, you did well, you did great. And instead of focusing so much on how it didn't come out how you wanted it to, focus on, you know what, it happened, you did it, good job, pat on the shoulder. This is an opportunity, a self-learning, like, knowledge moment. Like, you can't be Wonder Woman and still bash yourself.
Yes.
You know, you cannot expect yourself to be perfect, but yet you're still criticizing yourself. You know, perfection is not, isn't, it's, I feel like perfection is the illusion we are fed. You know, it's an illusion that we're fed because we're expected to be perfect. But in the reality, it's nobody's perfect. Nothing ever comes out perfectly. It just comes out beautifully at the end. You know, when it happens, it happens in its due time, and it happens the way it's supposed to happen. You know, I always tell myself, like, one thing that triggered within me, and it was like a learning lesson within myself, was a spiritual thing. Like, a lot of the times the universe provides as it's intended and needed to, not how we demand it to be. You know, because our blessings come in a form that they humble us before they actually are completed. You know, it's a self-growth challenge and journey. You know, like you said, it's like that we all carry some toxic traits. And a
Yeah.
lot of the times when things don't go exactly how we want them to happen, it's because it's the universe telling us and educating us and humbling us. Like, hey, you know, you're competitive, you want to be the best, you want to be number one, but you can't always be number one in life. You might not be number one in this test. You might not have been number one. You came as third. That's not bad. You won. I'm pretty sure there was people that didn't even get to graduate or pass the exam, you know, like, but you
But
did.
but for me, it's not even about that. So, you know, and I know that I see the chat that my law school friend Zaira, who I love and I miss, she said, how do we combat that sort of mentality? And for me, it's about recognizing when we're doing that toxic thing. First and foremost, acknowledging I am being a competitive woman hater right now with my attitude or with the way that I'm conducting myself, whether it's, you know, because I want to be the number one in the class or because I want a certain position at work or whatever it might be. We all have those moments, or I'm being a mom shamer right now. And it's all about recognizing, you know, okay, this is not a competition. This is not, and this is one of the things that actually got me into law school, because I always thought, I think I'm too old to go to law school. I think I started when I was like 27. And I was like, I think I'm too old to go to law school because you're supposed to be 22 when you go to law school. And I just remember going to an event before I was going to start law school, going to an event and talking to a judge who was at this event. And I wasn't a law student yet, But I was talking to this judge who was encouraging me to go to law school. And the judge told me, okay, law school is 3 years and you're 27 now. So do you want to be a lawyer when you're 30, or do you not want to be a lawyer at all? And that sort of mentality of, it's about you making it through that threshold, you reaching those sort of goals that you set for yourself, and not constantly comparing yourself to the journeys of other people. So for me, it wasn't about whether this person or that person is younger than me, or this person and that person is younger than me, or doing better, or whatever it might be. It's about constantly reminding myself, and now I can see it clearer than I did in law school, but it's about reminding myself, yeah, okay, I was number 3. That's great. And I passed, and I met that goal. And then I took the bar exam, and then I passed the bar exam. And now I have an Esquire attached to my name, and I have a state bar number, and I got to pay those expensive fees every year. And it's about reminding myself that I set this goal for myself, not to compete against anybody else. And I did that. I made it. And it's about reminding myself constantly through the workplace. As women, we're often sabotaging each other in the workplace. Well, she's not going to get ahead because she's a mom, or she's a single mom, and she doesn't want to put in the extra hours because she's got to go home to her family, or a lot of these sorts of almost like stereotypical tropes that you see in like TV and movies. The catty bitch in the office, or the terrible competitive woman who needs to sabotage all the other women for her to get ahead. It's about reminding yourselves, you need to be where you want to be based on what you're doing, not based on bringing and tackling somebody else down to step you up.
Yeah. And with you saying that, like, I want to add to that. A lot of the times when you see women behaving that way, a lot of it has to do with envy. A lot of it has to do with envy of like, well, how come she's able to do it? I want to do it. I want to be number 1. I want to be the center stage, and it sucks because me personally, how I combat being in those situations, because I've been in the workplace, I've been in the field, I've been out there where I see women being competitive and petty, and just like, it sucks because my mindset is just like, I'm not accomplishing it alone. Let's accomplish it together. I'm a strong believer of like, me being a woman, if I succeed, and you being a woman, if you succeed, it's a beautiful thing. Like, I feel like you're succeeding, I'm succeeding. Hey, girl, let's work together.
Yeah,
let's show the world what women can do.
I'm going to succeed at the cost of your downfall. Because one, it doesn't work out well most of the time. It doesn't go out the way you think it's going to go. 2, you're not going to feel good if you do reach that perspective. And 3, like, you just possibly destroyed somebody in the process, and like,
that's
not good on you. That's not good on yourself.
I feel like the competitiveness and the pettiness in the workplace between women, not only does it diminish or put a challenge for the other woman that you're like competing with, or you feel like like towards to, but it makes you look bad. It shows your character. At the end of the day, the only harm you're really doing is to yourself. And
that actually happened to me. I was the, not necessarily the recipient, but there was someone who I used to work with a while ago at one of the positions I held, that was just constantly trying to look for faults. Look for faults in me, look for faults in whatever I was doing. And it wasn't because they wanted me to improve on something, but it was because they wanted that to have it reflect positively on them. And at the time, the person who was supervising my work, he caught onto it so fast. He caught onto this sort of attitude, because we've seen it often enough to recognize it when you're trying to sabotage somebody else. So he caught onto it so fast, and he was like, well, what has she got with you? Like, you're doing fine. Like, are you kidding me right now? Like, what is happening? And that ended up being a downfall to this competitive woman who was trying to compete against me. And not because I'm trying to take her down, but because her own actions brought her down. Her own.
I feel like, especially in the workplace or in the work, or like, regardless of what career, what path, whether it's production, whether it's law, whether it's medical, whether it's any work area, like anything, it's visible, it's known, you can see it. Like, it's like I always tell people, is this an us problem or is this a you problem? Because how do I come towards you? How do I try to approach you? How do I conduct myself with you? Is it really an us issue? Let's be real. Like, let's take a moment. um
Think about this.
is it really an issue of what I'm doing, or what I'm, like, how I am, or is it an issue that you have within yourself and you're reflecting that, and you're so stuck on that it's hard for you to kind of like realize, you know what? Let me take a moment. Let me just say, Jemima, um, I'm sorry I'm being a bitch. It's just like I get frustrated because I want this and this and that. And when I see you doing it, I don't think it's fair. If women were to have these conversations, no matter how they come off, like, if they would be real and honest with each other, I'm pretty sure you would have been like, I'm sorry, I did not mean or intend for you to feel that way, you know? But thank you for letting me know. I will do my part. I've had instances at work where, like, recently I had a coworker just go off on me because she was being very petty, very, like, just, very toxic work environment. And I ended up saying, like, hey, what's the problem? I confronted it. She went off on me. She was not expecting me to actually go and say, hey, is there a problem? What's going on? You know, what is the issue? Does it bother you that my work ethic is a little bit more of a, like, when I work my line of work, I try to be as professional as possible. I work in hospice and I work in, like, the medical field and stuff. And then I also have, like, I work in production. So my mindset is always, you have to be a professional at all times, regardless. You have to be a professional. So when I approached it, it was more of a professional, like, hey, what's going on? Let's get to the bottom of it. If there's something I'm doing, let me know and let's talk about it. And I'm the type of person, because we work in the medical field, we have to endorse our shift to the next shift, you know? So I do that, and I'm very detailed. And I think this was bothering her because she ended up saying it was annoying. And I came to the realization it wasn't annoying because I was doing my job. It was annoying because it was putting her in a position where she had to be more, like, she was being kind of forced to do her job
She's
more.
working expectations.
Like, she was forced to kind of not slack, because there was actually a team member who was kind of being like, hey, we got to work together. I'm leaving all these notes because it's necessary, not because I want to, but because we need to communicate, you know, and it was an issue to the point she went off on me. She, like, I'm not going to mention names or anything, because, like, I still work at this company and I love the company I work with. I really do. Like, I feel like what they're doing is amazing. They're helping all the patients, and there's nothing negative I can say about the company I work for and my workplace. It was just a one person issue, and when I confronted it, she went off on me, and I felt completely, like, horrible inside, because it made me realize that this person, no matter what I did, was never going to like me, because I triggered something in her that she did not like. It wasn't a negative thing. It wasn't a bad thing. It was just her own personal reasoning. And then I came to the realization, okay, this is bad. I ended up talking to my boss. My boss told me, you're not doing anything wrong. I got that reassurance because I am very, like, oh no, I'm sorry. I did not mean to hurt you. Like, I don't like making people feel bad. Like, that's just not me. Because if I make someone feel bad, I feel bad. You know, it's just like, oh no, I'm sorry, give me a hug. Um, so when that happened, I came to that realization, and then I realized this person, it was a one-sided issue, because the next time I saw him, like, look, it wasn't my intention to trigger you to be upset. Like, I just wanted to understand. I wanted to clear the air. I apologize if I made you feel like cornered. That wasn't my intention, you know? And then she was just like, oh, no, it's fine. It's fine. Like, she never apologized. She never, like, humbled herself to be like, look, I'm sorry too. It was more of like, yeah, you better apologize. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, I've dealt with a lot of women in my work, um, in production, in medical field, and everything I've done. And it comes to a point where you kind of know who will be able to overcome the issue with you rather than who's always just gonna their mindset is just shot. They're one-sided and they're just gonna stay that way, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a learning experience when you work with people, especially with other women, because there is a lot of competitiveness. There is a lot of, I feel one negative toxic trait that women have is pettiness and toxic behavior tendencies.
Yeah.
Be
And
petty,
I
to be prideful, to have an ego, and to not be willing to say, you know what, I'm so sorry.
but
I was being a bitch. Like,
But you know what? Like, I think sometimes it adds even more to this idea that women have to work harder than men, because on top of that all, we have to juggle all of these other additional expectations and issues and dramatic sort of moments just to be on the same level as men. And I think that until we get to a point where women are actually focusing on improving the status of all women and not just pushing themselves up to the towards of a pack, to the top of this pack, we're not going to do things like resolve wage gaps and improve conditions for inequality in employment for women. Like, we struggle a lot with that in this country still, and it's surprising and it's shocking and it's embarrassing that in this, we're in this 2021, and we live in Southern California, super democratic place, and we still struggle with wage gaps between men and women. And it's absolutely embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing that that's
and
still.
with you saying that, it also adds on to the fact that because we're already struggling as women with that gap and pay gap and all of these challenges of women with men, it it's kind of a wake up call. Why have that tension between us women, women on women? It should be like, girl, we need to make sure we all make what we are deserved to make instead of us competing with each other. Because yes, it's a challenge being in the workplace and being a woman. But like you said, we live in a time where it's like this shouldn't be happening anymore.
No.
And when there's unity amongst women, believe me, there's no way that anybody or anything can ever crumble it, crumble that unity. And
And I work, in the legal field. There's other fields, obviously, that have similar problems, but the legal field has been traditionally a male-dominated field, and specifically a white male-dominated field. And I've been the recipient of little comments here and there from the older, whiter, maler, workforce, and not just that, but like, I've been the recipient of little comments here and there from judges and things along those lines, people that you would expect to hold a higher standard. But it's what, and I don't want to say it is what it is, because that's an awful thing to just sort of accept lying down and just kind of like, oh, it is what it is. It's the legal field. You should just get used to it. But, there are still rumors going around about how women should show up to courtrooms in skirts or dresses and shouldn't wear pantsuits or shouldn't wear pants, because you never know what type of judge you're going to get. And that's a terrible, awful thing to sort of impose.
It's like, okay, are we back in like the 1800s where women were only allowed to wear skirts? Or
Like
are we in the 2021 where it's okay to wear and be comfortable in your dress suit or anything you want to wear? As long
I
as, like,
law school, and as part of law school, there were comments that would float around from court staff or supervisors at law offices that you were interns or externs. I did 2 rounds at the public defender's office, for example, and there were, or even from your professors, but you heard the comments. I mean, I don't know that anybody didn't hear the comments. If you're a woman, you should probably try to wear a dress or a skirt if you're going to court, because you never know what type of judge you're going to get in front of. And you might have a judge who says, I'm not going to hear your case if you're wearing pants. Or you might have a crazy judge who says, well, who's not going to rule in your favor because he finds your outfit disrespectful. And it's like, the fuck? Like, why am I accepting that as like a thing? And it's sad, but we do it. And for a lot of us, we accept it. And we start to think about, well, should I wear a skirt to this courtroom? Do I know this judge? Do I know this judge enough to know that he's not going to get bothered if I wear pants today? Should I take that risk? Or
you see, I didn't even know that was something that female lawyers have to deal with.
And I mean, it's like,
I didn't know that was an issue.
I'm not going to say that it's, all the time or constant, but it's something that was noticeable enough that somebody talked to, like, that it was a comment made during law school, and I don't know. It's one of those things where maybe some people don't think about it, and that's fantastic. I hope you don't have to think about it. But, I'd be curious to find out if other female attorneys do think about it still.
And like I said, I didn't even know that was something that you, as a woman lawyer, a female lawyer, had to think about or popped in your head. I didn't even know that was a thing. So it's shocking to me that there's judges that would actually not want you to proceed with the case because you're not wearing a skirt. Like, isn't that a flaw within the court?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's something that I feel like now it's something that needs to change. This conversation should not be happening.
But it's not one of those, and this is the thing that's I think concerns me. It's not one of those prominent conversations, because it's not something that all female attorneys really worry about. So I feel like it's one of those things that, yes, over time is being phased out, but we're still in that transitionary phase where you could potentially run into a judge who's going to have this sort of comment for you. And like, what do you even say in those situations? Like I have a potty mouth and I have a short temper. And I feel like I'm going to end up in contempt. I'm going to be like,
and you see, that's the part that I was going to say. Like, if you were to kind of like respond to the judge, wouldn't he say you're in contempt of this court or something like that? Because I know that if you disagree with a judge, I've heard scenarios where they'll just straight up tell you you're in contempt of this court, and that's a valid thought. Like, are you going to be told you're in contempt of a court because you are speaking your truth? And
you could theoretically, yes, you could. Now, is that going to be like some long-standing thing that's going to hold? No. But can it theoretically get you locked up for a couple hours? Sure. Yeah.
Wow. So you can get locked up for wearing pants.
I mean, I don't think I would reduce it to that.
If you're wearing pants and you were,
but I feel like it would escalate real fast.
I do believe
controlling my facial expressions, and so like I'm just gonna look at the judge and be like, huh? And the face expression alone is just gonna get me in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. And then it's true. Like, what do you say in that situation? Knowing me, I would be like, sir, I believe that what I'm wearing is not the issue. The issue is that we need to find a resolution to this case.
See, you're a smarter woman than I am, because I tend to, in those sorts of situations, I react a little more emotionally.
You'll be like, what do you mean, judge?
Great logic. And so when it comes to things like that, I react a little more emotionally, and I still
because it's a trigger. Like, when a woman is being, like, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, when a woman is being questioned or cornered by a man in the workplace, we get our guard up. I've had it happen to me. Like, when I was working for a hospital. It was a convalescent hospital. And I'm not really going to go into detail because honestly, I just disassociate myself from this hospital. The owner, the staff, not the staff, but the people in charge and the higher ups, like it was just a horrible experience. And I witnessed how they manipulated everything to get their way. And when I left, I was just like, ugh, disgusted with the entire facility. Not with the patients. I loved my patients. I loved my rounds. I loved everything, like the process of like being part of a team that actually cared was beautiful. But the the ending, the parting ways to the higher ups and those in charge and how manipulating and disgusting they were in their mind on how to succeed with their agenda, that was the worst for me. And then when I left, I had an opportunity where there was like I want to say like a family friend, um, who had a friend that was in the hospital, and we decided to go visit. And I didn't realize it was this hospital, and it was already like a year, 2 years that I had left this facility from working at this hospital. And then when we got there, and I realized it was this place, and I was just like, oh no, I hope I don't see any of the people that made it a horrible experience for me. And the people I did not want to see were the first people I saw walking into the facility. I saw
Oh
the
God.
owner. I saw the main person that I had an issue with. This person had the audacity to tell me, who do you think you are? You're nobody. You're stupid. Just because I was defending myself and telling her, like, look, I don't see the need for you to talk to me this way. And she yelled at me and tried to embarrass me. And I was just like, I remember looking at her. I was like, you know what? I don't know what your problem is, but you're going to be hearing from my attorney. You don't talk to people like that, regardless of your status or theirs. I haven't done anything wrong. If you have an issue with me from now on, moving forward, you will talk to my attorney because I'm not tolerating this. When I told her that, she just went pale. She realized, like, oh my God. And then later I come to find out I'm not the first person that was in a situation with this person. I'm not the first person that legally was telling her that they were going to take legal action against her. And when I realized this, that's when I realized, oh no, I'm in danger now. They're going to try to do the worst because I spoke up. And this was a person like would chew out anybody that got in her path when she was having a bad day. And then when she tried to do it with me, she realized she just hit a wall that she should have never even tried. And it was just a horrible experience. So when I went with my family friend and we went into this convalescent, the owner actually told me, oh, can I talk to you? And I was just like, okay, sure. Can we talk in private? And me being naive, I'm like, sure, no problem. This person took me into an office with another higher upper, and they were telling me, so what's going on? And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm here visiting a family friend. What's the issue? I'm like, I know the laws. After a year, I have every legal right to be here if I have someone I know in here. It has nothing to do with you or me. And then they were being sued by somebody else because of the same issue. And they apparently this person had put me as a witness on their conduct towards their staff. And because
Yeah.
it was in the paperwork, they try to intimidate me and tell me, well, we have proof of this, and that of you. And I was so infuriated. And I turned around, I'm like, first of all, what you just did is illegal. If I am a witness in a case, you have no legal right to have me secluded and try to intimidate me in private.
You go, Nora.
Third, and secondly, I told him, if you have something to fear that you're so afraid that I'm here, that just comes to show you need to change. And thirdly, I'm going to walk out this door and don't you ever approach me ever again, because if you ever do, I will call the lawyer and I will go to court and testify against you. I did not know I was put down as a witness. Thank you for letting me know. I am fully aware now. Have a good day. And I walked out that office and they were just like, oh, they knew they effed up. They
Yeah.
just completely fucked up because it's like, one of the things with me is like, I don't let people step all over me.
Mm-hmm.
I may be sensitive, I may be patient, I may be loving, but I know my rights. I know where I stand. And I most definitely will never let anyone try to put me down just because they think they can, you know? So that just comes to show like there's different things that happen in a workplace, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's important that you stand your ground, that you're firm in your beliefs, that you stick up for yourself because being a woman, like anybody will try to intimidate you. Being in a workplace, anybody will try to be like trying to tell you how you are nothing, because you're a female or because of this and that. And the worst part is sometimes it's another woman telling you this, you know?
So I actually had a situation where, and I think I told you about this a couple days ago, where I had to, years ago at a former place of employment, I had to take my son into my office for like, I don't know, 30 minutes. Maybe he had to be there for like 30 minutes. And I brought my son in, and not even 30 minutes, about 5 minutes later, my sister, Liz, she calls me and says, I'm outside, I'm here to pick him up. She was super early, great luck, wonderful. So she picks him up, and my son was there for maybe 5 minutes. And I didn't think anything of it. I had already told my supervisor, my son's going to come in for about half an hour because I don't have anything to, anybody to watch him in that intermedium. My sister-in-law can't pick him up until X, Y, and Z time because of her schedule. So my supervisor said, great, no problem. It's not a big deal. And they, my sister-in-law picked him up in 5 minutes, and they were gone, and they had a great day. And then I come to find out a few days later that somebody had filed a complaint against me for having my son at the office, and for not having all the proper channels to have my son there, even though I had, because I'm not stupid and I'm a lawyer and I know that I need to go through proper channels to do things correctly because I am not stupid. And so I got really upset about the complaint thing. And it's not like I got in trouble or anything, but they just let me know like, hey, so-and-so filed a complaint against you. And I was having a conversation with a coworker, and I was so upset to find out that a couple weeks earlier, other coworkers had brought in their children as well for, entire days. It was summer break, so some kids were there every couple days for the whole day. Some kids were there, frequently being dropped off and picked up, just hanging out in, other coworkers' offices, literally around the corner from mine for 6 hours, 8 hours, whatever it might be, for 2 weeks at a time because they couldn't find a sitter for those 2 weeks. But the other coworkers were males. And none of them got in trouble or got written up for it. None of them.
Did you get written up?
No, I did not, because I fought it. But they tried to send this complaint all the way through human resources against me, and it was like how, like, this woman had complained. A woman in my office, classic Karen, had complained.
Classic Karen. And she, damn it, Karen.
Classic Karen, like if you're picturing a Karen right now, like that's exactly what she looks like.
Wow.
And she
who complained against you?
Yes.
Wow.
She complained about me having my son there for 5 minutes with permission, but had not complained about my male coworkers bringing in their kids for extended periods. And the way I see the argument is, oh, I am an overwhelmed single mom. That's the interpretation that they must give. Well, this overwhelmed single mom, why did she have kids if she doesn't have anybody to take care of them? Whereas they see, my male counterparts as, well, they're being great dads. They're spending extra time with their kids by taking them to work.
Double standard. It's like a double standard. And I despise double standards. Because to me, it's like whether it's a double standard against women or men, it's not okay. If one sex is able to do it without any issue, the other sex shall be able to do it as well.
But what pisses me off is the fact that it was a woman who was applying this double standard to me. It wasn't like, I might expect it from another male, but the only person to complain about my conduct was another woman at the office who was upset that I brought my son in for 5 minutes.
Yeah, and that just comes to show what we were talking about earlier, that female envy, that female competitiveness, that personal issue they have, that they try to make it a you issue. And it's like, no, homegirl, this is a you thing, not a me thing or an us thing. This is all you together. And like, it does suck when it's another female. Like when I had my issue with this experience in the past, it was a female head nurse. She was the top of all the nurses. She was a DON. And when she did that, I was just like, I was shocked of the lack of professionalism, because I hold myself to a high standard when it comes to professionalism. Like, I try to be as professional as possible, because I feel like in my mind, it's like we all are going through our own struggles in our lives. When you're at work, you're here to be a professional. You put all that aside. And I have my own challenges at home. And for this to be happening at work, I was just like, I remember I was so angry. I called my mom, because I'm the person that calls her mom and tells my mom, and like, this is what happened. And I told my mom everything, and I was crying out of anger. I cry from frustration and anger. That's when I cry, because I can't punch people. Like, that's frowned upon.
I took that from you.
And I was crying. I was telling my mom, and mom was like, you're not doing anything wrong. Like, she has a problem. And I was like, I know. Fuck her. But then I was just like, you know what? I need to approach this professionally, and I need to leave this place. I cannot work here anymore. I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel like their agenda is what it should be. And I cannot associate myself with that. And it did suck when it's another woman and she's trying to belittle you, and it's just like, what the fuck, bro?
Like, why are you taking our gender back 20 years? Like, what's wrong with you?
Exactly. Like, you never insult anyone in the workplace with verbal abuse or with name calling, regardless of gender. But when it's another woman, that makes it even worse, especially for a woman. Like, did we not have to go through so much as is to be where we are, and for you to like backtrack that? It's very frustrating. I feel like she knew better. Women like that know better. But like I said, it's a you problem. It's a them problem. It's not an us problem. It's like, I tell them, is this an us problem or a you problem? Because I don't have an issue with you. Like, and if we ever did have an issue, I feel like I'm the person that at this point in my life, I have no quarrels or issues with anyone. And if you feel like we have an issue, let me just say that it's not a we thing, it's a you thing. Because and with that being said, let's talk about it. And if there's no resolution for you, or that you feel confident and comfortable with, then that's okay. Like, I respect that. I wish you the best, but I cannot be around that toxic trait of women. Like, we deserve as women to be united and to succeed in life. Therefore, you need to have that same mindset to associate yourself with me, because I will not entertain that girl on girl hate. I will not entertain that. Yeah, and I just feel like we live in a time where it's like, you're a fellow female. I love you. If you cannot find yourself to be in the same love frequency as me, I wish you the best. I wish you no harm. You deserve the world, but you just don't deserve my world. Like,
and I'm all about that.
We can all eat at a table. We can all eat at a table. But if you're going to have that mindset and that energy, by all means, go off and create your own table. Because on my table, we respect it. We honor it. And the best way to do that is by having love frequency amongst and within ourselves.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not always the like, I'm not going to say I'm not kind, but I'm not the nicest always. I have a sort of brash personality. I can be a little too direct sometimes, and I don't do it intentionally to like hurt anybody, but it's just kind of the personality I have. I have a tough personality. I grew up with 5 brothers and with a mom who was constantly telling me to, stand up straight and lose more weight, and be skinnier so you can, get married. And I wanted nothing to do with any of it. I wanted nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with
We're in the
any
same boat. I remember my mom always buying pink little dresses, trying to make me girly. And I'm just like, ew.
I had a pink TV. It was like this, and it had buttons on the top because it was so old, because that's the only TV that came in pink. And so I couldn't even like scroll through the channels. It was like I had to click these weird buttons that came in different frequencies. I couldn't even watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer when I was younger because it would come in on my pink TV. I hated it.
Yeah, no, and it sucks because it's like, I get it. Like, I don't blame my mom. You know, what mom doesn't want their little girl to be the little girl they dreamed of? But it's like, it's a lot of pressure, like, it's like, Mom, I'm a girl. I know I can be girly, but I don't want to wear pink. Like, it makes me look like a freaking little pink dot. Like, I don't like it, and it sucks because me and my mom, like, would have battles of like, stop wearing black. And I'm like, but I like it. like it was a point like where black, being in a Latina or being in a household, it's like, you're gothic, you're satanic, you're wearing black. And it's like, no, I'm not.
Well,
I just like it.
I got a lot of the, okay, well, you should be going to church, and you need to get a husband, and you should stop going to school and worrying about that, because there are more important things to worry about, like getting a husband at church. And it just wasn't me. It wasn't, I had plans for what I wanted to do. And ever since I can remember, I must have been like 5, and I was telling people I'm going to be a lawyer. And like, God damn it, that's what I did, because that's what my goal was. And I was going to do it. Like, I don't care what else is going to stop me in that path, but that's what I wanted to do. And, I wanted to do it. And I still had moments, like I remember like a few weeks before my graduation from law school where my parents were like, are you sure you're going to graduate though? And I'm like, yes, I'm sure I'm going to graduate. Like, I'm a smart person.
Doubt me.
I've always had to deal with like a certain level of like doubt. And I've always had to deal with a certain level of expectations that weren't the same expectations that I wanted to reach.
Mm-hmm.
So there was always a bit of a disappointment in that, in that sense. And
I feel a lot of it comes from your parents reflecting their goals towards their children, their agenda.
Yeah.
I believe that this is right. And they don't realize the hurt and damage that comes with that. And it's like, it's something that it's something that the new generation experienced and should work on to avoid to continue doing generationally, because it's something that we need to be more aware of. Like, okay, you know what? I feel like me going through all the things I've gone through with my parents, I've learned all the beautiful things and picked up all the beautiful things that they've taught me. But I've also learned the things I do not want to pretty much pass on to my children. It's a learning experience. Life is a learning experience. You go through things because they teach you on who you want to be. They make you realize and find yourself and determine who it is that you claim to be and want to be in life. Because at the end of the day, the decisions we make as parents, as women, as people, come from within our own experiences of what we do not want or do want. Like, I have amazing parents. I'm sure you have parents. I mean, you and Lucas are amazing. Like, I love Lucas. That's your brother. And I love him. He's one of the people. I am serious. Like, Liz and Lucas are few of the people that I know I can go to and talk to in regards to anything that's going on. And to me, that just shows like the fact that Lucas is the way he is, he has such a wonderful heart. He's so talented. He's just so giving. It's like I always like look at him like, Lucas, your parents did an amazing job. As imperfect as they were perfect for you, you know? And the same to you, as imperfect as your parents are or were, they were perfect for you because they molded you, you know?
And they taught us lessons too. So, and I'm sure, if you had Lucas on, you would hear the same thing from him. We were not raised in a very like loving, and not to say that my parents didn't love us, but, we weren't hugged or told, I love you as children. That's not something we heard or understood. And so the second I had my son, of course, what did we all do? We all became overly affectionate and we're like, I love you to my child. And my brothers were all like, I love you. And they're all mushing over all their children. And we're all like huggers with our kids. And, I'm constantly telling him, even nieces and nephews, and we didn't hear it from our parents, but I can tell my nieces and my nephews, I love you. And with my whole heart and mean it. Because because it's sort of like the generational trauma almost being cured in us.
Yes. And I feel it's a beautiful thing that this is something that you guys learned, that you realize this is something that the fact that your brothers are the same way, that the first thing they do is tell their children how much they love them. It just comes to show, like what I was saying, that we learn from our parents what we don't want to do and what we do want to do that they didn't do. There's things I know I picked up that I feel my mom is amazing, my dad is amazing at, and there's things I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that to my children. Like I feel like I'm gonna be the type of parent that's more communicative and more like open to hearing what my children have to say rather than demanding them to respect my authority. Like what's the part of it? Respect my authority. Because in my household, it was in my household, it was more of a like, I am the parent, you do as I say.
Yeah.
And I was like, but your way isn't right. Like your way isn't reasonable to me. Like, can we come to a middle ground, And my parents did an amazing job with us, Like, I feel like I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for my mom and my dad, And even though we would bump heads, and I feel like I was labeled as a black sheep at one point, they still gave me that freedom to let me just do my thing, And there comes a point in every parent's where they kind of give up on you, but they don't. They just kind of go like, you know what? Whatever, do what you want.
So for me, it's like, it's that molding process, and I had tough parents. My mom was constantly tough on me. I was the only girl of 6 kids. So there was always that expectation. I had to be the princess, little perfect Bible girl who did everything who she was supposed to do. And I wanted to be loud and opinionated. I didn't want to wear pink. I wanted to wear red. And I wanted to, have opinions, and I wanted my opinions to be respected. And, growing up in a sort of traditional Hispanic Christian faith where you're expected to be kind of demure and you're expected to be very kind of like, humbled before the voices of men and sort of like in the background context of other things. It didn't work for me, and in the grand scheme of things, my parents wanted, my older brothers to go to law school. 2 of them had them all pinned down. We're going to get you guys to go to law school. And they never did. I did. I'm the one who went to law school. I'm the one who went to grad school and did their degree and ended up with the furthest sort of path along in education versus my other brothers comparatively. Not that I'm trying to compare, but because of that sense of what the expectations were and how they backshifted and kind of molded me.
When you say that, I feel like that's a very powerful point. When you are in a household where there's girls and boys, sons and daughters, the sons are elevated more and they're kind of more like, yes, my son's going to be this, my son's going to be that. And then that thought of like, my daughter's going to be a good wife, my daughter's going to be a good mother, And then I know I experienced it myself when like throughout growing up, like especially like who picks up the slack more over expectation? You know what I mean? You were the one who ended up going to law school. You were the one who furthered her education in a certain sense. In my household, it was I was the one who picked up the slack. I was the one who did the things that were expected of my brother, you know? And it sucks because it's like at the end of the day, it was the other way around. And
Yeah,
the recognition wasn't there when it happened
exactly.
until later, you know? So as the process, throughout the process, it's very difficult because you're not getting that recognition that you deserve. But over time, you go back and realize, like, I'm a badass, you know?
Yeah. I mean, like, the reality is, at the end of the day, I graduated from UC Irvine and nobody attended my graduation. Like, my mom was there for and my dad was there for like half an hour. And this is a graduation where President Obama was speaking at my graduation, at my
Oh,
commencement.
wow.
And
Wow.
they were there for like half an hour and then they left to go to somebody else's graduation party. And they took my child with them.
Wow.
And I'm literally graduating by myself. And then, and I had everybody there for my law school graduation, but it was like kind of the same thing where it was like, I felt like underwhelmed. And, maybe I at the time I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I'm kind of used to it at this point. But, these experiences mold you and they shift you along the way. And I've had rough experiences in different areas in my life. And, as the years kind of grow further and further, I've sort of become a little more distant and more distant. And not with like my parenting, but with my own sense of personality. Like I think I told you, I don't cry. I don't think I'm physically capable of doing it anymore. Good luck.
I think I joked around with you and you told me that I'm like, those are signs of sociopaths. But it's not. Honestly, though,
And
it's
I've
like
tried, and I
there
can't
comes
do
a
it.
point where I'm a very emotional person, and even my fiance tells me, like, you're so sensitive. And I'm like, I know. But there was a point where I wouldn't cry. I went 3 years without crying. And I think the thing that helped me kind of like just let go was when my grandfather passed away. I had a moment of reflection and I realized, you know what, this is heartbreaking. Like I hadn't cried in a long time, but when he passed away, I just remember crying. And it was hard because it's like there's always that one, it's not that we can't cry, it's that our minds, we train ourselves. Like I've been hurt enough. Nothing can face me. Whatever. Like go I don't give a F. Go ahead. Like say
Yeah.
what you say, do what you say. I don't care. I'm like I'm still
Really
doing
like
it.
this.
But when there's always that one situation where you're just like, is this a tear? What's this? What's this?
What is happening to my face?
And it's like, and I can relate to you of the not crying because it's like if there comes a point where you're just like numb, like you're like, okay, whatever. And you don't even let it phase you. And there's nothing wrong with not crying in the sense that like it doesn't mean that you're cold. It doesn't mean that you're not capable of being loving and affectionate.
Exactly.
It just means that you have a strong mentality, like a strong sense, like state of mind where it's like, I'm not going to put my energy into this. There hasn't been anything that's worth your energy of you to emotionally drain yourself with tears. And I feel there's a lot of women that can relate to that. Lately I have not been able to not cry. I've been more of like, but why isn't it going this way? and there's nothing wrong with that. Like I feel like I'm happy now that I'm more in tune with my emotions and my feelings. But at the same time, it's like sometimes it's like, ugh, I'm tired of it. I don't want to feel.
It's exhausting. And I mean,
It
I
is.
still have
And
feelings, I still have feelings and I still
but
have
like that's
concerns
the
and
thing.
worries
We
and
always
things.
have our feelings, but how we react to them is different.
Yeah.
Like I know when I wasn't crying, I was more like, if you hurt my feelings, I was like, you bitch. Like I was gonna be like cold and petty in the sense
I
that
go from 0 to rage in like 60 seconds flat.
what did you say? Like,
And like
and I was like, ah.
and it's funny because like I've had people, it's okay. So somebody actually gave me was reviewing my class. And one of my students said that I smile too much when I talk. And I just remember like reading that and being like, excuse me? Like,
Do you want to fail my class?
like, no, not that, but like I smile too much. And I actually brought it up with my last class. So it's a different group of students. And last week I actually told them, I was like, so somebody told me I smile too much when I teach. Like that's a negative thing. And my entire class laughed so hard. They thought it was so funny that somebody had said that. And I was like, because they understood that like, I'm either smiling and kind of giggling my way through, or I go from like full-blown resting bitch face and like, I will scare you. Like, I will scare you. And you guys don't want that out of me. And like, you better be appreciative for my little weird smiles here and there. Cause like, I will murder you sometimes with my eyes. Get out of here. But it's all part of that same, like that same concept of, you know, sometimes I can be too brash, too abrasive, too harsh, or maybe too direct. And some people see it that way, but, you know, I think that sometimes it's an interpretation thing. And, you know, you touched on sort of calling a draw and cutting people out. And I've been there and I've done it recently. And it was very tough, very hard. But I had to make a strategic decision. Like, look, what's going to be best for myself and my family, me and my son, what's going to work best for us versus who is draining and not giving anything back. And at what point do I have to say enough is enough, you know, with the sense of disrespect and the sense of, you know, being in that sort of reliving high school drama in real life. Like, I don't want to do that. I am adult. I'm an adult. I'm a lawyer. I'm a professor. I have things to do other than sit here and like do some bullshit high school drama with someone. And I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
It's like, you know, like I said, like I choose to not entertain that type of behavior. You know, it's just, I just can't. Like, it's not that I'm above people. It's just like,
no.
I'm just not going to lower myself to that point. You know, it's like, okay, you're upset, but either we talk about it, resolve it, and move on, or you just part ways. What more can I do? I'm not going to sit here and entertain you and wait for you to come around. It's like, look, I got shit I got to do. You got shit you got to do. You want to be an adult or you want to be a child about it?
Yeah.
Because time's a ticking. And
it's hard sometimes though, because we have, you know, situations where we have to make tough decisions, you know, cut out people who have been in our lives for a very long time or cut out family. And, you know, it's hard. It's very difficult. But it gets to a point where it's like, what do I balance out? Do I balance out your need for my relationship, or do I balance out the effect that you're having on my well-being as a whole, you know? And sometimes those hard decisions need to get made. And if nobody is willing to put in the work to resolve them, like, what are you going to do? You know, I had a situation, I cut a family member out and it was super hard, very hard. And, you know, this is a family member who I have provided help for years to, you know, constant, you know, it was a constant grab for attention and need and what they wanted. And it was always, you know, for them, for the way they portrayed it, it was always life or death, do what I need, or my life is in jeopardy and it's your fault. And there's only so far you can take that before something just breaks, you know? Yeah. There's only so much you can do before you break. I have other things to do. I have a law firm to run, and I have classes to teach, and students who need counseling, who it's very taxing to counsel people. Anybody who's done it in any respect, whether it's professional counseling or school counseling, knows that it's really taxing emotionally. And then to have somebody pulling and pulling and pulling at your mental well-being, I mean, that's hard. That's hard. That has been one of the hardest things I have had to deal with in my life. And I got to a point where I said, I can't anymore. And if we can't resolve this, like, if you're not willing to put in the work to resolve this, then this is it. This is it. Yeah. This happens. immediate. Like, what else can I do? I can't just accept the, all the negative, and this should be a give and take. Relationships, families, friendships, they're give and takes. You should give when someone needs it and provide support when they need it, and vice versa. It shouldn't be I have a situation, I have a situation, I have a situation, I need, and your needs will always have to wait. And
Mhm.
that's hard.
And I agree. Like I've come across friendships where it's a one-sided thing, where it's like you're there for this person for anything and everything, but when the time comes where, hey, you know what, I need your friendship. How about you help me for a little bit? Like I like, like let's not only be one-sided. It like some people are just like oblivious to it. It's like, I'm busy. And I'm just like, okay, that's fine. I respect that. And it's like, what can you do at that point? Like at that point, it just comes to show, like, again, people are different, characters are different. Not everyone has the same mindset or the same heart as you and the same commitment as you. And it just comes to show, like, sometimes when you realize that it's all one sided, that you just have to give those people their space. Sometimes you just have to retract and realize, you know what? I'm putting too much energy into something that's not being reciprocated. And there's no hate. There's no like, oh, F you then. No, it's just like a moment where you realize, like, I need to step away from this because it's draining me emotionally.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean I don't love them. It just means that I'm doing this for me. I need all that energy. I need to put it into myself now rather
Yeah.
than giving it to somebody else. So I'm just really happy right now that we're here, we're talking. I really appreciate you taking the time and
Of course.
coming on today, telling us about your journey. And like, it's to me, it's a beautiful thing every time I have a guest come and speak their truth,
Yeah.
and share their journey, share their story, share their perspectives. I really value and appreciate each conversation I have, everything that's being put together. Like I keep saying and tell everyone, like, this podcast, this platform is not about me. This platform is a community of women. It's built by each and every one of us who do this, that come on Mondays and we talk, we share. Talking is a tool for us to heal. Talking is a tool, it's medicine. A
Yeah.
conversation can be medicine, and I feel like everything you shared, everything that you said, it can relate. There's going to be women who tap in, tune in, and they're going to be like, wow, I needed to hear that. Or, like, I never thought of it that way. It's something that we all need to take the time and reflect on, and I'm really happy and I'm so honored and blessed that you're on today and you're my guest. And it's just, I love it. I love everything you said. I love everything you are, because you've done things, you do things that inspire and motivate others, and I am proud of you, and keep on keeping on, girl.
I was happy to do it, so I'm happy to
And
be here.
with that said, like, I want you to kind of take the time, and usually I ask my guests, like, what is the advice you have for women? But I want to ask you something, because I feel that you tap into 3 different categories of, like, career mom, single mom, and a boy mom. What advice do you have for all the career moms and all the single moms and all the boy moms that you feel will be a tool to remind them and motivate them?
So for my career moms and my single moms, the advice is always balance. Balance your life. Don't do anything with this idea that you have to do it with all of your energy. You have to balance your life. You have to find happiness in your life, and you're not going to do that if you're putting all of your energy into too many different areas. you do what you need to do. Obviously, you do what you love. You pursue what you want to do with your life because it is attainable. But live your life in a way that you can live it without the mom shame, without the guilt, without that feeling. Everybody has it. We all experience it or have experienced it or will experience it. But don't rely on that feeling. Don't let that feeling be what controls your actions and your thought process. Focus on improving yourself and your life for your family, and whatever that might look like. If you're doing it with good intentions and with smart planning, it's possible, whatever that goal is. Now, specifically for boy moms, I have the same advice I always give. Raise your child to be the kind of person that other people's daughters can be around safely. As a boy mom, that's our goal. That's our job. Our job is to make sure that we are raising men to respect women. And it's not enough for them to just be like, yeah, I shouldn't beat my significant other when I'm older. They need to respect women, all of it. They need to respect women as career people. They need to respect women as mothers, as sisters, as spouses, as human beings, individuals with equal rights, who deserve to have everything that men can have as well. So raise your sons to be that kind of person, to be the person who can grow up and be safely around my nieces. That is what your goal should be.
Yes. And I love that you said that. Thank you so much, Jemima. I really appreciate you, and I love how your words of advice are very powerful, and they're very to the point and sincere and genuine. So thank you so much. And
Thank you.
I appreciate this conversation and this talk we've had, and I hope that everyone tuning in, that it's somehow in one way or another related to them, you know. So I hope that the next time you come on, because I hope you come back on, that you always have more medicine to give, more tools to share. And with that said, like, I want to just thank you. I applaud you. I look up to you. I am like just shocked on everything that you've said. Like, I feel I can relate to a lot of it. And I feel like you're on the right track with being a career woman, a career mom. You're on the right track as being a single mom. And the fact that you're raising a gentleman and a man with virtues and respect for women, it's a beautiful thing. So thank you for doing your part and bringing into society a young man that will contribute into society in a positive way.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for the platform. I'm all about what this podcast is about, and all the episodes are fantastic so far, and so I'm looking forward to all the ones that come even after mine.
Thank you so much. It really means a lot whenever my guests tell me that, because sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I feel like, should I do it? Should I not do it? But I was like, no, I'm gonna do it. This is something that was in my heart. I like to talk and I like to hear people's stories. And I was like, you know what? If I get nourished through a conversation, I want others to get nourished as well. Like, I want my community of women to be powerful and united. I don't want it to continue in a path where people are divided and blind to these topics. Like career mom or a female entrepreneur or whatever role these women who have been on this platform have. I feel it's crucial to talk about the things we've been talking, because if we don't, who will?
Yep.
You know? And again, I'm really happy. I'm very blessed and honored and just grateful for every episode and for this time we've shared together.
I am too.
So thank you. And with this being said, this concludes our episode for today, because I know we're running out of time. And I just wanted to make sure you knew that you are really a blessing and you are an amazing mom. And whenever you feel like you just need a break, you call me, and I'll be like, "You get over here. Let's have a chill day." um,
Thanks.
yeah, and I know I can vouch for you and say like you're doing an amazing job. When we did talk, when we had our FaceTime, Nico was the sweetest. He was just like, "Hello, bye." Like you're doing an amazing job, and don't ever doubt yourself as a mom because you're doing it. And if you ever feel like you're doubting yourself, just remember you're surrounded by people who love you and who will support you and guide you and help you. You're never alone. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for being who you are.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm going to say bye to the audience. And thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope you guys follow Jemima and you guys are connected. If you have any questions, feel free to DM and follow us on the you can always DM us on the Women Warrior Podcast, which is on Instagram. It's the same name for Facebook. So if you ever have any questions in regards to any of the guests or you want to contact Jemima directly, you can always follow us on the Woman Warrior Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. And you can also follow Jemima at Jemima Galan on Instagram. And we're just very happy. I'm very happy. And I hope we all continue this platform to grow and like we all contribute equally. So thank you, and I hope everyone has a wonderful night, and thank you all for tuning in. Bye.